1942, the big naval battle at Guadalcanal. And there was 5 brothers serving on the Juno. She was a cruiser. Well, in that naval battle, the Juno took 2 torpedoes. She exploded. And I figure probably out of 600 or 700 men on the Juno. When the Juno disappeared in a matter of 30 seconds, she was gone. And the 5 brothers, the Sullivans, were gone. So about that time was when I joined the Navy, and they gave me a promotion because I was a commercial fisherman, and the Navy was building so many ships that they didn't have enough skilled men to serve on them ships. So I came in the Navy with a promotion because of my fishing knowledge. And they sent me to school, and I come out of school with a promotion, 3rd-class quartermaster. So I worked up on the bridge with the captain. And I guess I was aware of everything that happened on this ship during combat. And the Sullivans, I was real proud that I served on this ship named after the 5 brothers. And we went to the Pacific on the Juno in 1943, just before Christmas. And we operated with the carrier group, and she got a good war record, and I was real proud that I served on this ship because of its name. And we operated under Halsey. As a matter of fact, Halsey's call name on the radio circuit, his call was Aztec. The Iowa, her name was Russia. The Sullivan, the ship I was on, our code name was Shamrock. I guess there's another name. But anyway, the Sullivans saw quite a bit of action. And the Bunker Hill in 1945, the Bunker Hill got hit with 2 suicide dive bombers. And she was just getting ready to launch about 100 planes to hit the target in Japan. And the suicide planes crashed into those close to 100 planes on deck, all loaded up with weapons and fuel to hit Japan. Well, those 100 or so planes on deck started blowing up from the crash of the kamikaze plane, that the Bunker Hill was all aflames the whole length of it. And we was in a position, we got alongside the Bunker Hill, and there's a lot of men trapped in the fires. And when they saw that we was close by, they were jumping off the Bunker Hill by the hundreds. Well, we loaded our ship up with survivors in the Bunker Hill. And later in the day, we met with the hospital ship. The Solace was the name of the hospital ship. And while alongside the hospital ship, a lot of these guys were hurting. The guys that we pulled out of the water. Hurting real bad. And we put all these wounded on the hospital ship. And I was watching the nurses taking these guys and going right to work on them. And I saw what those nurses did that day. And it's still in the back of my head. So about 5 months after this, of course the war is still on. And the Sullivans is called back to the States. We had been out there for 2 years. So we come into Frisco, and I came home to Newport. And my younger sister had gotten married while I was away. She married a Navy guy in Newport. So I met the brother-in-law for the first time. So after a few days, the new brother-in-law says to me, he says, how about, can we fix up a good seafood dinner? He says, when my parents get here. I said, look, I can get anything in seafood. We're a fishing family. So I met the brother-in-law, and his parents came from Long Island to Newport. So I met the new brother-in-law's father and mother, and they brought their niece with them from Long Island. So I met the niece, and I looked at the niece and I said, oh, geez. I had that all my charm. You look beautiful. So they were in Newport a few days, and they went back to Long Island, the uncle and the aunt, and my date. So when my leave was running out, I kept in touch with the niece. So at the last day or so, I'd make reservations to fly out of LaGuardia, out of New York. And I go to New York, and I meet the niece. So her and I are in Radio City Music Hall. And my flight out was late that night. And all of a sudden, there's pounding on the doors of Radio City. The people out in the street are going wild. And of course, in the theater, we're wondering what's going on out there. So finally, they stopped the show and they said, the war's over, the Japanese have surrendered. So my date and I come out into Times Square, and it's getting close to my flight time out of New York to go back to my ship. And I see the nurse approaching. I come out of the bar, I popped a few drinks. Everybody was drinking, everybody was excited, the war was over. So when I saw the nurse, I remembered what those nurses did to those wounded that we pulled out of the water about 5 months earlier. And I remember that, and I still remember it. So when I saw the nurse, the drinks, the excitement of the war's over, I grabbed her. She went her way, and I went my way. Then, of course, a lot of people say, well, how the hell come you grabbed the nurse and you're with a date? Well, I said, fella, the war's over. And I said, it would look a hell of a lot worse if I had grabbed the nurse and if I didn't have my date with me. So anyway, I got back to my ship in Frisco. And of course, Frisco went wild. And there must have been 1 million sailors in Frisco during the war years. And those sailors in Frisco, when the war ended and I arrived from New York, the sailors in San Francisco, they shut all the bars in Frisco, they put the sailors out into the street. The sailors were not happy, they couldn't get the baboons into the celebration. And there was something like 10 girls got killed that day in San Francisco. And I saw 2 of the girls that were in the celebration that jumped into a fountain in front of the Federal Building there on Van Ness Street. I saw 2 girls drown there because of the celebration. So then the Army came into San Francisco. And they ordered all servicemen back to their base, because the servicemen were raising hell. And down through Market Street, there's about a 4-track system of trolley cars. The sailors jumped down the street with trolley cars, threw the conductors off the trolley cars, ran the trains down to the end to the ferry building. And they piled up the streetcars down there in a big pile of junk. And the Army took over the city of San Francisco. And quite a few girls got killed that day in San Francisco. So now I'm back in Times Square. The war's over. And I remember all this, and I remember what those nurses did to the wounded we put on that hospital ship. And even today, I still remember what those nurses did. And of course, when the war ended, we're in Radio City Music Hall, they stopped the show. We come out into the street in Times Square. The war's over. A few drinks I had, I grabbed the nurse. And that's exactly what happened.
Anyone has any questions for George about that day, or for me in terms of any aspect of the background to it, feel free to ask any questions. I'm more than glad to answer them for you.
Does anyone know interview with the Jorgensen?
Actually, Victor Jorgensen is